Thank you very much, Martin. It's a Cutajar. And I'm just saying this because it's fascinating how the different also pronunciations in different languages. And yes, we have different languages, we have different experiences, but surely we have the same challenges. And though we have some different realities, certain challenges are the same. And I enjoyed also speaking to previous distinguished speakers and listening also to their sharing of views. Also, as regards the challenges which SMEs face in this day and age. And I thank, first of all, OECD and INSME for this very interesting also webinar this morning. It's great to share the experiences and to listen from others because we're in the same boat together and it's important to learn from each other. As you were mentioning, the most recent development in the European Union is precisely the industrial strategy and the SME strategy, which was presented in March, yes, a few days before the WHO declared COVID-19 a pandemic. And it also comes within the 20 years of the Bologna Charter on SME policies in a time where our SMEs are facing unprecedented challenges and also this pandemic crisis. But it's good to note also, as Enrico mentioned earlier on, that even this Bologna Charter on SME policies was already looking at some of the challenges, and may I say also some of the opportunities which lie, for example, with the twin transition of the digital and environmental leaps we have to do, not only on an EU level, but also on a global level. And these two flagships are very important to discuss and very important also to see how we could tackle them together. And here, I do congratulate also OECD for its work in the field. You provide a very important platform also to policymakers with sharing of practices, with studies, because yes, studies and data are very important too in this regard. I enjoyed also reading the material about the OECD Digital for SMEs Global Initiative, something which is very important, a timely initiative, may I also say, and therefore also thank you for that. I will now focus a bit on, yes, lessons learned also from my work in the SME strategy, which has been positively voted upon last week in the ITRA committee. It still needs to go through plenary, but we had a very strong vote there. And although we come from different political parties in the European Parliament and we all have our views, for example, when it comes to female entrepreneurship, the gap which we need to address there when it comes to the environmental and digital transitions, we then have also some common goals and it's important to work together. We know that SMEs will have to walk the long path of recovery, but at the same time, they have to make the leap when it comes to the digital and environmental transitions, which I was referring to. And therefore, I believe that with regards to these new and challenging standards we are asking of our SMEs whilst helping them as much as we could also through the recovery facility to recover from this pandemic, I believe that we have to go beyond the mainstream storytelling of SMEs. I myself am a young politician, have joined the European Parliament during this legislature, but I've already sometimes say that we are over-abusing the words that SMEs are the backbone to our economy. It is true, but we have to move away from that narrative and storytelling into actually being effective now for our SMEs and having an effective plan to help them transit not only the recovery, but also take the opportunities of the twin transitions. And therefore, they need to be effectively supported in this regards. The SME strategy of the European Commission had already highlighted important aspects, which despite not having the COVID in mind now are also real, had been real from before and are real are real now also. For example, the capacity building and support for the twin transition was already foreseen in the Commission strategy. The reducing regulatory burdens and improving market access and the improved access to finance were already challenges faced by our SMEs before. But now what's different is that the SMEs are facing a dilemma. They need to focus on the short term to ensure the survival of also their business, but also on the long-term priorities. A recent McKinsey report of June 2020 also highlighted that business leaders are prioritizing innovation to concentrate on shoring up their core business, conserving cash and minimizing risk, while waiting until the economic outlook will be clearer. And I hear say it's a burden on us policymakers to collaborate together to also help our SMEs not only focus on the short-term priorities. We cannot afford that because the digitalization and the environmental change is already with us, up and running, and therefore, whilst it's a medium to long-term priority, it's also a short-term priority, may I say, because it's already very realistic with us. And here, the Recovery and Resilience Facility will help the European member states weather the economic effect whilst also going in the right direction because it already foresees a minimum level of expenditure both on the green and digital priorities. I would also like to highlight the fact that we speak of SMEs, but we cannot ignore the micro enterprises. If we want this twin transition to be really effective, and if we want the EU also to be on the forefront of the digital leadership, we need to make sure that this twin transition really leaves no one behind, including our micro enterprises. We know that we have certain enterprises who are more prone to innovation, who are more natural innovators, and who are also more prone to digitalize because they work in the digital field. But then we cannot ignore and forget the traditional enterprises. For example, the restaurant, which still takes its orders in a manual-based, paper-based system, and also that craftsman who needs also to be aware of the opportunities of digitalization. And therefore, I emphasize here that it's important, first of all, to address the information gap. We know that a lot of SMEs are not aware of what these opportunities of the twin transition are. And I also quote here from the OECD Digital for SMEs Global Initiative Summary, which refers to the fact that most of them ignore the potential benefits in productivity and competitiveness deriving from the adoption of digital technologies and cannot clearly identify their needs or do not have enough capabilities or financial resources to access and effectively use digital instruments. SME digital gap slows productivity growth and widens inequality among people, firms, and locations. And therefore, the gap is there and clear. How do we address this? We address this, first of all, as I was saying, by bridging the knowledge gap, and the knowledge gap could be bridged by collaboration between different stakeholders, also between the EU, OECD, the business partners, the chambers of commerce, the academia and the researchers. Yes, research and development plays an important role here, and we cannot ignore it. But also by recognizing, first of all, that there's no one-size-fits-all. Also, when it comes to digitalization, we need to make our SMEs and micro-enterprises aware of the opportunities and then adjusting them according to their needs and also business models. And we also need to help them with technical assistance. We know that SMEs and the more so micro-enterprises are lack resources, human resources and time resources sometimes to train. Training, reskilling and skilling is essential, and I cannot emphasize this enough, but we also need to help our SMEs address their lack of resources. And therefore, I believe that here, sustainability advisors, which are we are pushing forth also in the SME strategy report by the European Parliament is very important, as well as helping them with the technological and technical know-how. Also, when rules and regulations come into place, we need to help our SMEs not to be overwhelmed by what they see as bureaucracy, but to help them understand and adapt to that regulation and understand that even in the light of regulation, there lies opportunities for them. There lies opportunities for them to transit effectively and also to assist them whilst protecting them from big businesses which may stifle the market or create also market imbalances there. I will stop here for now because I'm sure that the other panelists will share with us a lot of interesting insights, and I look forward also to the questions in the Q&A session later on. Thank you.